Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Listen, I'm going to show you how to make a really pretty card today. Today I'm going to show you several different ones that I'll make out of flowers, but please know that you can use any images at all that you have. I'm going to show you where I get the free images that I use, and hopefully you've seen this place before. But here's the card I'm going to make, and I'm going to bring you down to my tabletop too so you can see it a little bit more clearly. But hopefully you can see that it's dimensional, that things are popped up and they match perfectly. I'll show you how to do this sentiment also. So follow me down to my desktop first so I can show you this card a little bit more clearly, and then also let's get started. Okay, here are two of the cards, the one I had already shown you and another one that I made, and I have a slew more around here somewhere, but these are the two I got my hands on first, and this one in particular because notice it says directions inside. I have the instructions for making this card inside here, and I'll put them up for you on the screen so you can copy them down as well. But isn't it cute how these are popped up and it just looks really super? I think it adds a nice touch. So let's go up to my Silhouette software now, and remember, you can use this for any machine that you have. So learn how to use this software just like you're using a software named Illustrator or one called Inkscape. You're using Silhouette software for any machine. Okay, as you can see on my screen up here, I have the flowers I'm going to use, and I have a piece of cardstock. I don't usually cut my cardstock on my machine, my Cricut or my Cameo, but just to show you if you wanted to how you could do this. This is 8.5 by 11, right? That's situated there. And what I would do is come over here and get the knife tool right here in the lower left, come up here to it says solid, change it to straight if it says something else, uncheck auto apply. Then I'm going to hold down my shift key, and while I'm holding that, I'm going to draw a line straight across. Doesn't matter where I do it. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both of these things, and usually the centering tool would show up here, but I don't see it for some reason. So maybe it doesn't when the knife tool shows up. So I can come over here to this is the transform panel. Okay, way over here on the right, the transform panel. I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to come here and say center, because I have two images or two things selected. I have the knife tool line and I have the piece of cardstock, and I want to center them. All right, now they've been centered perfectly. So now I can come up here and say apply, because that's going to allow the knife to actually cut when I click apply. So now I'll have two pieces, and this is how you can make two cards out of one piece of cardstock. But let me tell you something. This piece is pretty wide. It is 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches roughly tall. What your cards would be like if you were using one like I'll show you in just a second, it would be as if it had a line down the center. Now again, I'm going to hold down my shift key and draw a line, and I'm going to grab both of those things now, and now my little tool shows up here, or I can just use this centering tool to center it. That will be my fold line, and I can change that if I want to a dashed line if I want it to score like that. On my Cameo, you know, it would make little cuts unless I manipulate that, and I'm not going to really show that today, but there's a way to make it just to make little indentations that aren't really cut through. But at any point, this is my fold line. So when this thing is folded in half, what it's actually going to be is a piece that looks more like, well, let's say this. I'm going to move that into the fold line. So we know this is the front of the card, and it folds there, and the back obviously is behind it. Okay, so look down here now at my desktop. Here's our 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, sheet of cardstock. I'm going to cut it in half. So if this is 11 inches wide from here to here, half of that means I put this on the 5.5 mark, like that. Make sure it's up to the top. I always like to bring my blade up to the top and start up here and slice down. There's some junk in here. I hope it doesn't mess me up. And go down. So I'm at the 5.5 inch mark like that. And there we have it. There are the 2 cards that I could use. And I could have a score line if I wanted to, or I can simply just fold this in half and use a bone folder if I had one readily available, or my fingernail. And that's the card. So look here. This is the same thing. I just used a little bit different color of purple. Okay, so this is the purple that's showing through right here. So now what we want to do is we want to put the flower image on a smaller piece. So rather than it being exactly the size that this is, the purple, the half of the sheet of purple, I'm going to make it 1/4 of an inch smaller for the white. Now I am going to do that up on my machine. So follow me back up there. Okay, so this is the card. Get rid of that. Okay, okay, that's the card. I can get rid of that piece. Here are the flowers that we have. Now you can see they're way too big for this, right? Not only that, we don't want the piece to be as big as this is. This should be measuring right now let's see, the height should be 5.5. Let me fix this for us so it's exact. Whoops. 5.5. And the width should be 4.25. The width. Okay, so however, what I'm going to do is on my sample, if you remember, it was like this. So we'll say the fold is up here, so it's going to open from the bottom up. But what we want to do now is we want to change it so we have that extra white piece in here onto which this piece of card is going to go. So I'll just draw out another rectangle. This one, as I said, is going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than this one. So if this one is 5.5 inches wide, I'm going to make this one 5.25. And if this one is 4.25 inches tall, I'm going to make this one, how much did I say? 4? I'm going to make this one 4 inches tall. All right, so this should fit right smack dab on there with a nice little border around it. See how that is? But I am going to make this white and bring it over here. Okay, so now we're going to want to fit our flowers onto this. So I'm going to make this smaller just by grabbing this little box and skinnying it in a little bit more. And I'll right click on this one, I guess. Right click and say send it to the back so it will go behind our flowers so we can see how that's looking. Okay, that looks pretty good, but you can see it's almost off the edge. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, I think that'll fit just like that. I like it. And then I'm going to move it to the side because I want a little spot to put our little sentiment over here too. All right, so that's ready to go. Okay, the next thing I have to do is I want to duplicate this so I have an extra one just in case I make a mistake. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard and drag one over. So I have a second one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the rectangle tool, get a rectangle and just draw it out. And I can't really tell if I'm getting exactly what I want to behind here. So what I can do is just simply come over here to the paint palette and click on that and then change its transparency like that. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I like what I'm getting there. So what I need to do next is come over here to the offset panel and I'm going to offset my square or rectangle that I just drew, and I'm going to do an internal offset right here. Now when I'm making my cards, I usually like my offset to be 0.4 or 0.5, something like that. So that's what I'm going to make. This one 0.4 and hit enter. And there's my offset looking really good. You can see it perfectly right here. Now according to the instructions, what I'm supposed to do is take those offsets or the rectangles, both of them, and send them to the back. Well, for me, I find it's easier when I right click on this thing and say bring it to the front, because that automatically sends the other stuff to the back like that. So we really can't see that those offsets are there, but if I take my mouse and I grab over here Now you can kind of see that they're there. So now the last part I have to do now for this is to just come over here to this panel right here, which is called the Modify panel. Click on it to open it. It's the one over here that looks like a rectangle and a circle. And once the Modify panel is open, remember we've used Subtract before and we've used some of these other things, but today what we're going to do is use the one that says Divide. Click on that. And it doesn't look like it did anything. However, let's come over here and see. It clicked and it made all the pieces that I want perfectly. So now I could just build this card right on here. So what I would probably do is go ahead and put this on here with my glue or with my tape runner, and then put this piece on here. But if I'm not exactly sure where to put this piece, I can line this piece up first, like that, and then make sure I'm putting this one exactly where it would line up. And then take this one back out and glue this one on here. And once it's glued onto there, that's when I can come over here and pop dot this one up like this. Easy as that, and it looks really terrific. Again, look down here and you can see how I've done it. I did it a little bit differently on this one because you can't see the purple behind, but I like it better seeing the purple behind. So I've learned to make it a little bit different way. So if I was going to go ahead and cut this with my Cameo, all I do is put all these things over here. This is going to be a print then cut. So I'd have to come up here to my page setup panel and come over here to the first thing, and I would change my media size to letter, because that's how big my piece of cardstock is. I also need to come to the third button over and turn on my registration marks to make sure that my things aren't outside of where I can put them. Okay, and then I would just go to send. And let's see, I'm going to grab all of this stuff and I'll say to cut the edge. So that's what it's going to cut. Cut all of these edges just like this, and then I'll be able to assemble it perfectly. If I want to take it to Cricut Design Space now, all I'll do is I'll grab all of this. And what I might do, well, let's check it first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save Selection, Save to Hard Drive, and I'm going to save it as flowers, purple flowers, for Cricut. And since I'm able to save it, because I have the business edition, I have these options in which I can save it, I'm going to save it as a JPEG, not a PNG, a JPEG, and not an SVG, a JPEG. So click on that and say OK. And I'll just leave these as they are and say OK or save. Then I'll open Cricut Design Space. Now if we do have one little issue, I'm going to show you how to fix it. We'll see if we have it. I'm going to say New, Upload. It's Upload an Image, Browse. I'm going to look for, where'd I put it? Desktop? Probably my downloads, right? There it is. Purple Flower for Cricut. Open it. Okay, it comes in looking like this. I'll say Complex and continue. And now's when I need to remember, if I go like this right now, it gets rid of a lot of stuff that I don't want to get rid of. So let me go back and I'll say Complex and continue. So what I want to do is when I'm on the Select and Erase tool, I want to go to Advanced Options and change my color tolerance maybe down to an 8 and see what happens. If I click here, I'm still getting that kind of messy. So let's go back. Complex, continue. I'm not sure that this is going to work, and that's what I told you, that we might have to fix one more thing over there. Change that to a 4 and see what happens. Still getting too much of this, so that's not at all what I want. So I'm going to cancel that totally. Go back over here. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click on each one of these little pieces, and there's a little line that goes around each one of these. I'm going to change the line color by coming right here, and I'm going to change it to a gray. Okay, I'm going to change the line color of this one also. The line color, I'm going to change it to that gray, and I think it was about the first, second, third one in maybe. Change this one also, the line color, change it to that gray. So now I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, go to File, Save Selection, Save to Hard Drive, and I'm going to name it Purple Flowers for Cricut with Gray Line. And I'm going to still save it as a JPEG. Say OK. And save. Now we're going to come back again to Cricut Design Space, and let's see how this works out. Upload, Browse, Purple Flowers for Cricut with Gray Line. Open, Complex, Continue. Okay, now we're going to try the select and erase and see if it works right off the bat. Okay, that worked pretty well. That worked. And let's see, did I want this cut out? Yes, I did. I wanted, oops. Okay, that didn't work. So let's go back and let's go to Complex. Continue. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to change with my advanced options the color tolerance to an 8 and see what we can do. Okay, that all worked perfectly. What I'm trying to do is cut out this center perfect, just like that. We did it. All right, so let's continue and make sure that our cut over here looks good. That looks really pretty darn good. So I'd say save. Then I'll open this one, insert it. And I would have wanted to keep track of the size because this probably won't be the right size. So I should have checked that. But if you watch some of my other tutorials, you'll see how to do that. But again, this is a print then cut. It might be too big, because it will be, because look, this height is 9.749. If I try to make it, it's going to say, no, it's not compatible, right? And it's going to tell us why. The image is too large. Reduce it. Or if I don't want to reduce it because I know how big I want my card to be, what I can do is just come over here to the shape tool, get a box, unlock the box, bring it over here, drag it over so it covers the bottom part of our card, and say slice. So now what we have is we can get rid of this and we can get rid of this. So now we have two different pieces. We have this piece together that is the print then cut, and we have this piece that's the print then cut. And now it will work. Okay. So I would just go ahead and print it on my printer and cut it out and assemble it on the blue, or the purple I should say. So again, what I did to make this work for my Cricut was I just came over here, since there's so much white, all of this white, I put a very faint gray border around it so that when I use that tool over there, it stops right when it gets to that little faint gray border. And to put that on, I just clicked on the image and came up here. This is the fill color of things. This is the line color. I changed the line color to about the third gray in, and then my Cricut was able to see that, and it continued on. So that's how easy that one is. Okay, this is the next image I'm going to use. I said I was going to show you where I get some of my images for free. So let's go over here now. And I go to a website called Pixabay. And these are free to use. Now be careful, don't get the ones up at the very top up here that say Shutterstock, because you have to pay for those. But these are the free ones down here. And this is where I found this one. So I clicked on it to open it. And you can do a free download here and just bring it right into your machine. Or you can right click on it and say copy image, and then go over to Silhouette and right click and paste, which is what I did. And then I just made mine larger. So I'll just delete this one. All right, one of the things I noticed on this was there was a little tiny bit of a white border here that I don't want. So there's several ways I could get rid of that. I could double click on this And I get these little boxes here that you can probably see over here anyway, and they allow you to move the thing in, but I wasn't sure I could do that in a straight line over here. So what I decided to do to get rid of this was to use the knife tool. So I came over here on the left hand side and got the knife, made sure it was solid, straight, and I'll uncheck auto apply. Hold down my shift key and just draw a line down. Okay, once I'm sure that I've drawn the line and it started above my image and ended below it, now I can click on that thing if I can, whoopsie. Should be able to. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Now I should be able to apply this and it'll cut that piece right off, and I can just click on it and delete it. Okay, so now I probably don't want all this white space over here either. So what I'm going to do is again get the knife tool, solid, straight, auto apply is unchecked, hold down my shift and just do this. And if I'm happy with where that is, I'll just say apply. That cut right through there and I can delete this. All right, this is really pretty, isn't it? So the next thing I probably would want to do is to get a piece. Well, I could just have this cut out like this and put this on my white border. So what I'd want to do is to make sure that this was the size that I want it to be, depending on how many layers I'm going to have in my card. Okay, so like for the example, this one has the white and then purple border, and then it has my image. So for the roses, I might like to do the white and then a pretty pink color and then the roses. So I won't worry about resizing this right now. You can mess with that yourself later. But do let me show you this, the steps that we go through again. And at the very end of this, I will have them written out for you so you can pause the video and you can jot them down so you have them forever and ever. And you might want to make a card and put those inside of the one card that you're going to keep so you always have that information, like I did here on mine. So I don't have to always wonder, what did I do next? What do I do now? So I have that info right here. So I'm going to follow my info that I have right here. First thing I do is I'm just going to go ahead and resize it like I did. And then I'm going to duplicate it. I can hold down the Alt key on my keyboard and drag one over, or I can right click and say duplicate. There. That's just if I mess up. I have an extra over there. All right. So this one right here, let's say I want to get this rose right here, maybe like that. So I'm going to get a rectangle, come over here and draw a rectangle over this. And if I want to see what I'm getting for sure, remember I just come over here to the paint palette and I can change the transparency so I can see better. Looks good. Then the next thing I'll do is I'll come over to the offset panel and put on an internal offset. And again, as I said, I like mine to be 0.04 or 0.5. That just makes it wide enough so I can put my pop-ups, my pop-up tapey stuff on it. So I'll say apply. All right. So then I'm going to want to send both of these rectangles to the back, right? And sometimes, instead of trying to select them to send them to the back, let's see, I can right click and say send to the back. There they go. Or I could have right clicked, and there's another one here that needs to be sent to the back though, right? Send to the back. All right, so let's undo that for a second. So instead of trying to make sure I get those sent to the back, which is where I want them, I'm just going to right or click on this one and bring it to the front, which makes them in the back. So then the next thing I have to do is just go ahead and grab all of this stuff, and you can see that they are still back there because you can see the faint outline of them. Then I come over here to the modify panel and I click on the word divide. Can't tell that anything's been done, but if we look at this. It's perfect. And now I'm going to show you how to put this one together. Okay, excuse my mess down here. I was trying to figure out which color I would like this on, and I couldn't find one that matched this very well. So, because mine turned out a little bit funny color, I must be low on a color of ink in my printer. I kind of liked it on the orange, but most people don't like orange, so I guess I'll just go with the white. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put this piece on. And again, I'll just use my tape runner. Love this thing. I have a link for it down below if you don't have one of these and you do a lot of cardstock or paperwork. These are really nice to have because it lasts so long. Okay. So just put that on there like that. The next thing I should put on is this, but since I'm not exactly sure where to put it, I can put this piece on here first, then kind of get an idea of where to put this. And maybe even put a little pencil tick mark right here around that corner so I know where to put that. And then I'll just do this again. And I forgot, but I didn't show you how to make the sentiment. I guess I'll keep that for another day because this video is quite long and you may be getting really bored. So there's that. So look how pretty that looks already. And then the next thing you do is you pop dot this out. And people wonder, how in the world did you get all that to match so perfectly? So the pop dot stuff that I use is this stuff that I get from the Dollar Tree, foam mounting tape. And they come a little bit too big, so I need my scissors. Where in the world did I put my scissors? Well, here's a pair. Right, here's some. Okay, just cut them like in strips. I think at Dollar General you can actually buy this stuff in strips, but at the Dollar Tree it just comes in these kind of pieces. So I just go ahead and put these little strips on, and you can just go through here and put them on. I found that if I cut these in half, they fit pretty well. And that again is why I like to make my offset 0.5 so that this will work easily. Okay, so there you get the idea. I didn't pop dot this up twice as I usually do, but I think it still turned out super cute. I usually like to pop them up twice and then have my sentiment. I could even have something down here or across here. And a lot of times it is nice to have a darker color behind because it really adds to the shadowing look. But I think it turned out super cute. I hope you liked learning this technique today, and I hope you'll share some of what you've made on my Facebook group. Look down below at the links. I have the links for my Facebook group, for my Patreon classes, and even from my website where you can get 5 free classes on using this software. So thanks a lot for joining me. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye, you guys.